Now Weezy on the track, boy.
Did you know that there was actually a time when NFL players played actual games wearing basketball sneakers? On first thought, one might think football, basketball, two completely different sports with their own gear, right? But what if I told you that some of the biggest names in the NFL once laced up in basketball sneakers instead of cleats? As crazy as it sounds today, in the 80s and 90s, not only was this a real thing, but it spawned some of the most classic retro sneakers that we know of in current time. Why did they do it though? And how did it all work out? The story is actually a lot more interesting than you might think. So let's find out. I'm Nate the Great from TakeFlight214.com, and this is From the Court to the Field, NFL's basketball sneaker era. But before we get started, please take a second to stop and hit that like button for me, as it's the only way to get the YouTube algorithms to promote the channel. Another way to help us out is by shopping our website. We've got hundreds of pop culture art pieces and t-shirts that fits the taste of any fans of the channel. But with all that out the way, let's get into this story. To understand why NFL players started rocking basketball sneakers in game, we first have to talk about AstroTurf. And not the lush, cushy, artificial grass that football players today enjoy. I mean the OG stuff. In the 60s and 70s, many teams replaced natural grass fields with synthetic turf, primarily because it was cheaper to maintain and it held up better in bad weather. AstroTurf, although doing murder on players' bodies, became the standard artificial turf for baseball and football stadiums from the time the Houston Astros first used it in 1966. And in case you didn't know, that's where it got its name from. Get it? Houston Astros, AstroTurf. The problem is, early AstroTurf was basically a thin layer of green carpet over concrete. It was hard as a rock and super slick, causing major problems for traditional football cleats, which were designed for traction on natural grass. Players were slipping, injuries were piling up, and teams started looking for alternatives. Well, enter the unexpected solution: basketball and cross-training sneakers. These shoes had way better grip on the synthetic turf than cleats did, especially for skill position players who relied on quick cuts and explosive movements. Players like Deion Sanders, Emmitt Smith, and Barry Sanders, and even linemen were swapping out their cleats for hot top Jordans, Air Trainers, and Reebok pumps. The reasoning was simple. Basketball sneakers had a flat, grippy sole designed for hard surfaces, making them perfect for AstroTurf. The first player in history to receive an NFL signature sneaker deal was none other than Sweetness himself, Mr. Walter Payton. In 1982, Payton signed an endorsement deal with Kangaroos. They compensated him with a check for $125,000 and a midnight blue Lamborghini Countach that he posed in front of for posters promoting the brand. But the point is, the rules that he wore on turf were flat-bottom cross trainers. Nike took notice of this and started pushing cross-training sneakers themselves, such as the Nike Air Trainer SC. But they needed a superstar to really get them out there. And in 1986, Nike signed a two-sport college phenom by the name of Vincent Bo Jackson to a multi-year endorsement deal. According to reports at the time, the contract between Nike and Jackson, who initially picked baseball over football, was worth $100,000. But it included a clause stipulating that the partnership could yield up to $1 million if he ever jumped from baseball to football. Little did they know, Bo was planning on doing that anyway. In 1989, Nike's iconic Bo Knows campaign debuted on a commercial break during the MLB All-Star Game, just minutes after Jackson led off the bottom of the first inning with a 448-foot home run. In the 1-minute spot, Jackson promoted Nike's Air Trainer series, which became synonymous with him despite not being his signature line. But they were cross trainers. In reality, Bo only had one official signature shoe, the Nike Air Bo Turf, which released in 1990, that was also a cross trainer. 1992 marked the introduction of one of my personal faves and one that is making a comeback as of late, the Nike Air Diamond Turf. Nike had experienced nice results with Bo Jackson and figured they could strike gold twice with another football/baseball guy in Deion Sanders. Deion was a generational talent and one of the best billboards that a sneaker brand could have at that time. The deal was so successful that Nike released 4 more models: the Diamond Turf 2, the Air DT Max 96, which is today's belle of the ball, and the Diamond Turf 4 and 5, all cross-trainer type shoes. At the same time, other standout guys like Barry Sanders were known for playing in several Nike basketball/cross-trainer silhouettes, including the Air Force 5, the Nike Air Max 2 Up-Tempo, and the Zoom Turf 96 and 97. Reebok, not being one to be left out at the time, got in on the action too. They targeted standout players like Anthony Munoz, who wore the Twilight Zoom Pump, Derrick Holmes in the TD Threat, Bam Morris in the Reebok Reckless, and record-breaking running back Emmitt Smith with his ES22s. This crossover between basketball sneakers and football didn't just stay on the field either. It made a huge impact on sneaker culture as a whole. Suddenly, football players were influencing sneaker trends just like basketball guys were. Think about it. Guys like Deion Sanders were larger-than-life athletes who had just as much visibility as many of the top NBA stars. When fans saw them playing in high-top Jordans or trainer SCs on Sunday, they wanted to wear them too. This era helped cement the idea that sneakers weren't just for one sport. They could be a lifestyle statement. Before playing a single down in the NFL, Keyshawn Johnson had a signature shoe in the making. The USC star wideout dressed head to toe in 3 stripes during his pro day, teasing the multi-year endorsement deal worth $150,000 annually, which he signed in the lead-up to his 1996 NFL draft. Emmitt Smith's sneaker deal essentially launched an acting career for him, so to speak. That's how often he appeared in commercials as Reebok's face of football throughout the 90s. After joining in late 1992, Smith hit TVs and ads promoting a pair of cross-trainer models, the Preseason and the Pay Dirt, from Reebok's Pump series, and eventually got his own signature shoe in the ES22. Not to mention, the best running back of all time, in my personal opinion, Barry Sanders, wearing Nike Zoom Turf so much that people thought it was his signature shoe, although it officially never was. But throughout the 90s, tons of NFL guys did have signature sneakers. Randy Moss had the Super Freak, Michael Vick had the Nike Zoom Vic 1, and LaDainian Tomlinson had the Scram LT. Although many of these shoes named were at least cross trainers, there were plenty of guys who at times broke out straight up J's in games. Ronnie Lott played in the Air Jordan 4 B Reds. Michael Vick earlier on played in Jordan 17s. Marvin Harrison Sr. in Air Jordan 14s. Aaron Brooks in Air Force 1s. Marshall Faulk in LeBron 2s, and countless others. Basketball shoes were being used for way more than just court play now. But things started to change as the 90s drew to a close. It had long been common knowledge that AstroTurf was horrible to play on, and anyone who had the displeasure of doing so can attest to this. I personally remember it was rock hard, so getting tackled on it was like taking a bump on the street. Not to mention, if you slid on the surface, it would shred your skin off like a cheese grater, and guys were blowing our knees left and right. With the creation of today's artificial grass, many stadiums began replacing the old stuff with the newer, safer surfaces. This meant that football cleats could finally get proper traction again, and basketball sneakers were no longer necessary. Even though you won't see NFL players playing in traditional Air Jordans or Reebok pumps today, the era left a lasting impact. For one, the most recent trend of basketball silhouettes being retrofitted as actual cleats now that we've seen so much today. Another is it helped push sneaker innovation, blurring the lines between sports and creating some of the most legendary sneaker moments in history. Today, while most NFL players wear specialized cleats, the influence of basketball sneakers in football remains strong. Whether it's custom Jordan or Nike cleats, sneaker collaborations, or pre-game tunnel fits featuring rare kicks, the crossover between basketball and football footwear culture is alive and well, still, even now. From Barry Sanders to Jalen Hurts, the legacy of NFL players rocking basketball sneakers has cemented itself in sports history, and sneaker culture will always have a place on the football field because of it. But what do you think? Do you remember the days of guys playing football in shoes that they could later go hoop in? What were some of your favorite designs from that era? Hit us in the comments and let us know. And if you enjoy videos like this and you enjoyed this one, then don't forget to do us a solid and hit that like button for us. Liking and sharing the videos is the best way to get the channel to continue to grow as we've been doing, surpassing 26,000 and on our way to 30K subs. Also, if you want to be updated whenever we drop a new video, which we are now doing 2 of per week, one on Wednesday and one on Sunday, then hit the subscribe button and then the notification bell. That way you can be dinged when each episode is released. With all that being said, I'm Nate the Great from TakeFlight214.com signing out. Until next time, peace.